Master events, but she will definitely not mess around in the playoffs. Let's hope it's going to be a good one. In the bottom right side of Curious Minds, we're looking at the main base of the French-Canadian Protoss player, DisK.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top left. She is the Queen of Blades for the Shopify Rebellion. Give it up for Scarlett. And she is comfy. She is comfortable in this matchup. She's rocking the Lambo webcam, you know, the Darth Scarlett version. So, you know, she's at her peak power level right now. So DisK is going to have to watch out.
Yeah, especially on Curious Minds, I think DisK is really going to have to watch out. We obviously saw this map earlier today where Gerald did do his absolute best against Redata, and at one point we felt that things were going his way, but then he got a bit too overeager, exposed a few too many units. And if there's one thing that I will always remember of all the Scarlett CVPs that I've watched, is she is so damn good at finding the right windows to drone. And when you think normally it's like, oh, this is kind of a playable game, you take a look at the replay and you're like, oh my goodness, how on earth is she already at 82 drones? You know, it's like, man, I didn't think it was going that bad. But Scarlett, her macro truly is sick. And of course we know about her crew spread. That has always been on point.
Yeah, she's always been an incredibly mechanically gifted player. I think it was really cool listening to her signature series. You know, the signature series they've been pretty good in general, I think. And but for me, the most interesting thing was hearing her family talk about like family game night and how she just always dominated anything that was remotely strategy oriented, because her family, I think her father's a university professor. And I think her mom might have been as well, like might be a former professor, but like very intelligent people. And they were just like, yeah, we had to give her a handicap so it was fair.
I remember. yeah. I thought you were going to continue, but I know. I loved it. That was a beautiful signature series. Probably my favorite of all the new ones that came out. I think the one with Scarlett was my favorite. Yeah,
it was pretty neat. It was really cool to see that little interaction there. Oh, DisK losing the probe right here. I mean, that's not that big of a deal, but you expect to keep that alive, and Scarlett gets the base down. I think hang on, she did this off dish 2 Zergling, so she was playing a little bit greedy right here.
Yep, but still able to get it down. DisK does have his first adept on the other side of the map, and his follow-up is going to be the relatively quick Twilight Council. He has pulled a couple of probes out of the gas too in the main base, so that gives us the idea that it is all about the resonating glaives, and we're not going to go into those DTs that we saw Gerald attempt earlier today.
Yeah, and this is kind of interesting because he delayed his third gateway unit for quite a while, maybe trying to sell that it was something a little bit weird, but it is going to be that resonating glaives almost for sure. It's anything else would be very, very bizarre. He actually gets the 2 additional gateways before starting up resonating glaives. So this might be the variant where you get like 2 additional adepts. Normally you hit with 4 adepts, you know, moving across the map, and then it's warp in 4 for 8 at around that 430 mark. But Parting did come up with a build, and I believe Harston was also might have made a video about it. Talking about how you can find ways to get a couple more units out with a slight couple of alterations.
All right. I mean, it's definitely not Scarlett's first time going up against this. And a long time ago, Scarlett did absolutely hate going up against this build. And she was even in the BattleNet team called Adapted. And that was kind of the time where even Australia busted it out a few times in one of the DreamHack Masters events, thinking of 2020 times. And Australia's like, yeah, I'm not even that great with the build, but I just know that Scarlett absolutely hates it. So I kind of felt like I was right to bring it out. Scarlett is already getting a couple of spore trawlers, and that's honestly not totally necessary. So maybe Scarlett is misreading this a little bit and expected a few DTs to show up, but this is quite a few adepts. Scarlett could actually be in some trouble here, because at this point, all that she has are 11 Zerglings. If DisK goes crazy with these adepts, I actually think he would find a lot of success, but will he let the Shade finish up? The answer is no, and now every second that goes by, Scarlett can get more and more ready for this.
Yeah, and this is going to be pretty difficult. Scarlett, she did have a Roach Horn about 30 seconds later than you would like to against this. DisK is continuing to commit to this, but it's going to be a relatively soft committal. He will be transitioning into, as we see that robotics bay there. But we do have to mention that, you know, the I think she did read this as DTs, because you look at the placement of that Spore Crawler, that is almost definitely an anti-DT Spore Crawler. That is not for, you know, oracles or something like that. So good job from DisK on the cell there.
This is kind of nice as well, just bringing that very quick observer to the other side of the map and picking off a handful of Cryptomers. But Scarlett is already sending all of her Zerglings to the other side of the map. It's not going to make it that easy for DisK to go up to 3 bases. Also ends up picking up the probe. And now suddenly I feel like, okay, it's already not going that hot anymore. DisK is honestly playing the style that I feel Max Pax did for a long time, where it's a bunch of adapts with Resonating Glaives, and then we follow it up with the Robo Bay, the War Prism Speed, and a couple of Disruptors for some Disruptor harass. But it is important that you get some value out of your adapts. Nobody likes to open up with Resonating Glaives and 12 adapts and then just be like, oh, force out a couple of units. I guess it's something. It's like, no, you're hoping for a lot more than that. You at least want to kill a handful of drones before the Disruptors come into play.
Yeah, or at the very least, you want to trade, you know, like really, really efficiently against a bunch of Lings. Like if you kill, you know, 30, 40 Lings and you only lose 2 adepts, 4 adepts, that's not so bad. And this is a pretty nice pickoff right here. Gets 5 drones and will be able to save the rest with the War Prism. Now, actually, this is pretty nice for DisK, but Scarlett is going to be able to get in on top of it. However, oh, nice target fire from DisK. Gets 3 additional drones right there. That's not bad at all.
No, DisK definitely playing solid so far and also seemed confident, where he's like, I don't need to get too crazy. I don't need to let the first or the second shade finish up and take a big risk. No, I'm just going to play my macro game. I'm going to play what I have practiced on all those ladder games that I've been streaming for my audience each and every single day. And it could work out, but it also can get very, very dicey, because Scarlett is going to get a very big army in the next 60 seconds, give or take. Now, if DisK can just land 1 or 2 decent Novas, I will absolutely start believing in his chances here. But let's see if he can land those Novas, because at this point, that army is already running towards the other side of the map. Love these adapts in the natural. This is honestly a very sweet play by DisK. But now we need to make sure that our defense at home is also solid.
Yeah, certainly. That was a really, really nice move. Oh, he's looking for the disruptor shot. Scarlett moves forward a little bit. Wow. Will eat a pretty big shot right there. Nice job from DisK on this. Now, Scarlett is going to be getting very aggressive off of a relatively low worker count. She got that Baneling nest extremely early for Bane speed. Huge wraparound and a good split against the disruptors. Baneling's trying to connect in on top of the army. Battery overcharge going to get taken down very quickly. And I think Scarlett might just be able to break through right here.
So let's see, the Nova is good once more, and that War Prism is still doing its job. The Colossus is going to show up as well. We don't have Thermal Lens. Banelings will connect with a lot of probes. I mean, Scarlett gets a decent amount of damage, but if Scarlett does not kill any of the Robo units, this is honestly not good enough. Scarlett needs a little bit more than what she got so far. There she gets one of the Disruptors, and there she gets almost the second one. Now extra Lings show up. Look at that Colossus there. That Colossus is in a really sweet spot. I honestly think this is a pretty successful hold, because Scarlett's economy wasn't insane behind all of this.
Yeah, she was only on 55 drones. That was kind of an all-in from her. Now she gets plenty of damage, enough damage to be able to macro out of this, and she's on 4 bases. So she's going to be able to drone up very, very quickly. But yeah, DisK with a really nice hold right there. I was thinking that might have just been over, but no. Nice defense right there from DisK. He does need to be a little bit careful right here. Cannot afford to let these Stalkers get surrounded. And there's a lot of creep. Oh, Scarlett. Oh, that would have been a really nice pickoff if she gets that Observer right there. But I still like Scarlett's position. Oh, DisK. Nice Disruptor shot right there. Gets 5 drones. Scarlett not able to split enough in time. And yeah, DisK, he's totally in a decent spot right here. He's got a much faster +1 weapons. This is actually starting to shape up very nicely for DisK.
Yeah, I think as long as DisK is able to keep track of this lair and see if there is an infestation pit or a hive, like that should give him the right information as he lands another solid Nova, 4 extra drones going down. Scarlett really is kind of putting all of her eggs in one basket at this point. 20 Banelings morphing. It's going to be kind of an anti-timing, as her +1 is not going to be done anytime soon. But Scarlett probably feels that this is it, man. She really wants to find some damage, because if she doesn't find some more damage, this is just going to be an unbreakable Protoss. Banelings coming in from the bottom. That is very sweet. Will this Colossus stay alive as the Banelings are going to try to connect with something? I love that battery overcharge from the high ground. The Stalkers are in a very dicey spot though, but that Colossus is tanking a lot of damage.
It sure is. Oh, unfortunately, it does get taken down. If that shield battery could have survived, maybe DisK could have made a hold, but unfortunately, he does lose a lot right there. And the War Prism almost going down, but it looks like it will survive. Scarlett is going to get pushed back once again. but it is going to come at the cost of DisK's third base, a ton of his army, and 25 probes. And in fact, well, he's going to say it's too much. GG's going to get called. Scarlett takes game number 1, but DisK acquits himself very well.
And DisK actually was in a very sweet spot, and I almost felt like he could have, I don't know, I mean, maybe spend a few more resources on some static defenses, because as long as Scarlett is not backing up too high, you don't really need to worry too much about being out on the map and getting X, Y, or Z. No, just more Blink Stalkers, cannons, batteries, and getting some robo units would have been very good against the lair attack army of Scarlett. And Scarlett did not have that crazy economy that she has in so many other games. DisK got honestly very close there. That may have not looked close. Where some people are like, that's a lot of Zerg. First wave almost, second wave gets it done. But I actually think that was a very close game where DisK had a couple of good moves.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. And I would say that if after that one disruptor shot in the main, where he killed 4 drones and saw that there was no hive, if he recalls right there, you know, has that disruptor at home, has that speed prism and can juggle the Colossus, especially after it survived for so long off the battery overcharge. If he saves that Colossus, he can start juggling warp units with the Warp Prism. I think that's actually a very solid hold for DisK. And all of a sudden, Scarlett's, you know, she's on what, like 55, 60 drones. DisK holds his third base. He gets up to +2 weapons. He can start pumping out maybe another Colossus, another Disruptor. I think it's a completely wide open game and maybe even a DisK lead at that point.
Yeah, it was honestly a pretty sweet engagement by Scarlett towards the end, because we kind of focused on the top side of the engagement. We're like, where's the Colossus going to go with the Stalkers? And then from the bottom, Banelings were already making their way into the mineral line. And that kind of gave her that sweet economic damage immediately. And then she had all the time in the world to figure out how she wanted to fight the rest of the army. But overall, a very good showing, I think, by the underdog here in game 1. Displayed a lot of patience, still found some damage with the adepts, found some good Novas, especially that one Nova in the center of the map before the first wave. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but definitely a good showing. Down 0-1, the French-Canadian Protoss, DisK.
And his opponent, she gets the job done for the Shopify Rebellion. It is Scarlett. You know, that's very telling that she went for that build, because that was not your average run-of-the-mill, you know, Roach Ravager Ling Bane attack. That was a very low eco Roach Ravager Ling Bane. Like, that was a no Evo chamber. That was relatively low worker count. And that was a Baneling nest that had been started extremely fast in order to get a quick Bane speed. So that tells me that Scarlett, she's not thinking that this is just some easy match. She came in with a very prepared build, and that shows a lot of respect to DisK.
And once more, Scarlett in the playoffs will never mess around, right? Like, Scarlett definitely has her eye on the prize. She also said it in one of the interviews where she was very happy that she was able to win the DreamHack Masters Winter 2021, and obviously wants to continue on that trend after Neeb won the first 2 seasons last year. But yeah, I think she also knew that she was going to have to work for it. Like, DisK is definitely not a walk in the park anymore for the big 3 of NA. They all may be favored against DisK, but they will take DisK seriously because they have seen him take down some big names on the European ladder. And once you can do that on a regular basis, the way that DisK has been doing it, yeah, that's where you take someone very serious.
Oh, absolutely. And I would say that either, you know, in this case, we know it's Estrella, but either Estrella or Neeb, I would be rather scared to face him, particularly in PvP, because I feel like PvP, obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves, and, you know, DisK can absolutely still win this series. But if he does go down there, having to face DisK in a PvP is actually a very scary prospect, because he is the similar concept of Neeb, where he can be behind for a very, very, very long time in a game, but you can never take a good engagement against him. He's so patient, and he knows how to play that out. So I would be a little bit scared, even as one of the big 3, particularly either Estrella or Neeb, having to go up against him. And it's going to be really interesting to see if that comes about. But for now, we got to focus on this game. We're seeing a much more standard opener from DisK. It's going to be a Stargate.
Yeah, and DisK is obviously no stranger to his oracles. We should not see anything too crazy. I wonder if it's going to be the triple Oracle into the Blink Stalkers with +1, or if DisK has something else in mind. It is important that this time around, whenever he wants to go up to 3 bases, he can actually get that third down immediately and don't lose that initial probe, because those are the little things that do make a very big difference at the high level. So especially in the first 5 minutes, you really don't want to see your build be interrupted if you are the underdog.
No, certainly not. It's the kind of thing that it's not only does it, you know, actually affect the game in a pretty significant way against these very, very high level players, but it's the kind of thing that you know that you're the underdog and you really don't want to have any stumbling blocks, because it is going to make you feel maybe a little bit more pressure to try and get something done. Now, DisK, he played that out extremely well, even after some things did go awry for him. And he gave himself some really, really good opportunities to come back in game number 1. So I'm not too worried about it, but it is the kind of thing that can be a problem if you let it get in your head. What do you think about this quick +1 melee we're probably going to see out of Scarlett, this very fast Evo?
Yeah, no, it could be good. I mean, we always love the games where the Zerg players get a little feisty with Lings and Banes, and I think Scarlett already found a lot of her success with the Banelings in the previous game. She's just very smart at her attack angles, and even if you have a decent amount of vision as a Protoss, Scarlett will find that one little corner where you don't have vision, and then the first time you see those Banelings is when they are within striking distance from your probe. So I always like quick +1, and especially I think in the current meta where Blink Stalkers are very popular, it makes sense that this is becoming more and more popular again for the Zergs.
Yeah, it's especially with the hero style where you're playing extremely mobile with the Stalker Zealot and a low gas count, high probe count, low gas count, high unit count. You want to be able to answer in as many places as possible, and I mean, this is a great way to do it. Scarlett, something interesting that we haven't seen at all today, and even though we haven't had that many ZVPs, we haven't seen any mutas yet.
No, did we? One game of Ratata? No mutas?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think it was just all Ravager Ling Bane.
You're right. I mean, Reyna definitely showed some mutas yesterday against Showtime on Berlingrad, I think it was. Yeah, maybe you're right. No mutas at all? 0? That can't be 0. We must have seen some
right?
mutas.
It feels so wrong for that to be the case, especially in this current meta, but I might be wrong, but I don't think we've had a single muta made from Zerg players today. Now, granted, there's been a lot of TVPs. This is only our second Zerg of the day. We're going to see the Oracles dancing on in. They try and find something, but Scarlett, good positioning, will be able to prevent that. DisK really just looking to clip down that queen count and make it so that this low gas style can really find footing and find openings. But Scarlett handling it well. And now a Hydra Den. Okay.
Could be some Hydra Ling Bane. We saw it from Vanya or Ratata earlier today. I gotta say, though, Scarlett, her defense has been absolutely fantastic so far. Triple Oracle has only found a single drone so far. Now we get the second drone, but it comes at the cost of 1 Oracle. So 7 minutes into a game, Scarlett has lost 2 drones, 2 Zerglings, killed an Oracle, and she's at 74 drones and +1 melee. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Scarlett is incredibly good. If she just wants to macro, her macro is so damn clean. And I really think if you want to defeat her in a PvZ, you need to do something crazy. You need to try to catch her off guard, or maybe make it seem that she should be the one attacking. Because in games like this, I actually think that Scarlett is very, very powerful. There are very few Zergs in the foreign scene that do it better than Scarlett.
Oh, seriously. She is ridiculous when it comes to that macro, and even to that point, she built another 9 drones after that. She actually did that before she confirmed the 4th base, so theoretically, you know, if DisK was doing something hyper-aggressive off 3 bases, she could have put herself into a very dangerous position, but it's not the case. She is going to be able to get up to these Hydras now. She's going to start pumping out army units. DisK will start moving across the map aggressively, but I think Scarlett should be pretty well prepared to deal with this.
Yeah, especially if the Lynx can get a nice surround. I do like the stasis traps in the back of the army. Scarlett is probably going to have to commit right now because that hatchery is starting to run very low. Hatchery gets a transfuse, will still go down. Lynx do run into all the stasis traps, but even the remaining Lynx could become pretty difficult to deal with, as some of the Broodlings from the hatchery were helping out as well. Definitely not bad so far by DisK, though, as he blinks forward, finds a couple of Hydras. I'd say that was very clean by DisK. Well done. I was obviously aware of the threat of potentially being surrounded and already dropped those stasis traps in advance. That was very well done.
Yeah, those stasis wards were MVPs of that fight. That was a great setup right there from DisK. Very intelligently done. Even target firing down 2 Hydralisks, so showing some nice micro right there as he blinks on out. And you know what? This started out really nice for Scarlett. I still like her position, but DisK getting some really good work done, and now he's going to start moving. Oh, but these Banelings on the left side. Well, you do not want to run a bunch of slow Zealots into Banelings. Charge is about to complete. Yeah, that's going to be pretty good there for Scarlett, I feel.
Yeah, those Zealots are going to go down, but just losing a handful of Zealots is not too bad. And it's terrible if you lose all of them against 3 or 4 Banes, but I actually think that's quite all right. Now, a lot of Zealots are very clumped up, though. DisK still doing his absolute best. He's just going to let a few Zealots attack these Banes that do have +2 melee, so you need to take them very serious. But I mean, I love that DisK is even thinking about already trying to counterattack a little bit and just buying extra time, as Scarlett has more Banelings right now running into the 3rd base. Like these Zealots, they might get something done. Let's see what the Banelings can do of Scarlett, though. So, yeah, that's a lot of that probes, I think. These probes are stuck. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. One-shotted by a single Baneling.
Yeah, that is so difficult to deal with, and that is what a lot of European players are saying is the answer to this this high eco, low tech hero style of, you know, just mass gateway units, mass Zealots, mass Stalkers. It's so difficult to deal with if you can't keep your mineral line safe. And we are going to see a recall actually getting forced out. Scarlett will get back in time in order to save this base. Oh, but the Banelings getting on top of the Nexus, and they actually splash the Nexus, will get the kill. Oh man, that is so many Stalkers and another base going down. Scarlett, she is taking complete control of this game right here.
Yeah, this just went from 5 bases to 3. They'll swap in a couple of Archons now, but it's just a little bit too late. After recall was used, we obviously couldn't really save that base in the bottom right side anymore. Revelation does go down. Scarlett needs to be careful that he doesn't take a bad fight in range of a battery overcharge, but this was some beautiful multitasking by our Canadian Zerg player. And even though DisK has a better answer for the Banelings now, the problem with Archons is that they are not very good against Hydras.
Yeah, they're not the best. They, man, look at this Scarlett. She's going to kind of pin the Zealots in the corner. We will see the Banelings rolling on forward here. Archon's doing a really nice job of just holding the line to the front. But yeah, like I was saying right there, we see it just now. The Zealots being pinned in the corner, and Scarlett takes down the Nexus during that. Good positioning from DisK to make sure that he can't get fully surrounded. But this is looking pretty scary right now. Oh, and Scarlett does draw him back out. DisK is just going to go for one desperation push. He needs to pretty much win with this.
Yep, this is the Hail Mary play, as we're going to get a Baneling drop as well into this base on the bottom side, so a few additional workers will fall. And even though DisK does get this hatchery for the 2nd time in the game, that is just not going to be good enough, as Scarlett still has 80 drones. Maybe the Oracle and the Zealots can kill this hatchery, but even if DisK would get the hatch, and he doesn't, with 10 HP, it does live for a split second. It wouldn't make the difference anymore. Scarlett, her army is too big, her economy is too big. I mean, +2 Zealots are good, but +2 Zerglings, especially if you have an absolute crap ton of them, are very good.
Yes, and, you know, after that first snipe on the 4th base, I was like, okay, DisK, well done. Very well done. You know, it kind of mitigates that huge drone up that Scarlett did because she can't really take advantage of it. I'm feeling DisK's position a little bit, and then Scarlett just turns it on, gets so much damage done, and really just knocks DisK out before he can find any additional footing in that game. That was a bit of a statement from Scarlett.
It's funny how some of these Protoss Sim cities often seem to work against the Protoss, right? Where it's nice to kind of keep like a couple of Banelings at bay, but when the Baneling numbers increase, and they will blow up that Stalker that you warp in, or they will blow up that Zealot and the Pylon that are there to protect the probes, then suddenly all the probes are stuck. And even recalling is obviously not going to be in time. And then like a single Baneling connects with like 12 probes. And then it's like, should we create these kind of choke points? I mean, obviously, if all of us are doing it, we probably should be doing it. And it is good in normally making it very hard for those initial Banelings to connect. But yeah, one of them sneaks through, all your probes will fall, and then it definitely feels like it's working against you.
Yeah, it certainly does. Harstem actually showed us a really great walling setup on Berlingrad, which is the map we're going into. Oh, perfect segue. Versus Serral. And Serral was just throwing those constant waves of Banelings at him. Like, 10, 15, 20 +2 melee Banes. And he had a really, really nice, like, double wall, heavy gateway focus as the actual walling units. And he was able to get those units in the wall, and he was able to manage it very, very effectively. Took some extremely good defensive trades. We'll have to see if DisK can employ something like that as we get into game number 3, spawning down to the bottom right. It is Shopify Rebellion's Scarlett.
And in the top left side of Berlingrad, we're looking at the main base of the man who's having a good showing so far. Unfortunately, he finds himself 0-2 in his upper bracket semifinals of the DreamHack Masters North America. It is the French-Canadian Protoss player, the DisK.
Yeah, it's a really, like, he's played well. He's made good moves, but Scarlett has just really shown her quality. You mentioned the macro. We saw it in game number 2. Like, she really just went ham with the drones and absolutely got up to a ridiculously large drone count. If I'm DisK, I'm starting to be like, this is this is one of the big 3. Like, this is a really, really tough match for me. And I think you mentioned it earlier during the pregame, and it's a really cogent point. Stylistically, she matches up really well against him.
Yep. It sucks for DisK that he's such an honest and fair and honorable Protoss, where sometimes it would really benefit you if you just have crazy unique builds that may not necessarily be the meta, but maybe then Scarlett could make like a big misread once or go for a certain opening that he shouldn't have gone for. But DisK is just trying to do it in the way, and it makes sense, right? If you're practicing the same styles over and over and over again, if you're trying to be as legit as possible as a player in one of the big series in the playoffs, you're not suddenly going to go crazy and go cannon rush or void ray shield battery rush and that kind of stuff. But it wouldn't hurt if DisK was capable of doing that stuff, because we'll probably have a better chance against the way that Scarlett likes to play than the way that he's currently playing it out. But it's not a bad showing. Like, this is our games. He gets himself in position where, like, all right. Like, game 1 was honestly very, very close. Like, I don't think, just because the game was short, it doesn't really do justice to how close it was. Second game, perhaps a little less, because triple Oracle only finding a single drone 7 minutes into the game, that's just not quite good enough, right? But that's just where Scarlett, her experience really shows. I can see has played against that build now time and time again, and she's so good at overlord positioning, having a couple of Zerglings on patrol, having queens in the right positions. It's really hard to find damage against her.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It's not DisK, failing in some way. It's Scarlett succeeding on the very, very strong defense. She has made a name for herself, off of extremely strong defensively oriented Zerg play, and I mean it's what her strength is. I will say, for a second I thought DisK's money was getting a little bit high. He wasn't building a third gateway unit. I was like, is he going to take like a 330 third Nexus? And he has kind of skipped the second gateway, so he might actually go for a 1-gate third Nexus, and he is going to do that. All right, DisK pulling out the greed in game number 3. I like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. We still have a quick Oracle as well, so even against like 6 to 8 links, we'll be totally fine. If it's 20 plus links, we may be forced to cancel this Nexus, but it doesn't really matter, because if it's 20 Zerglings, that's actually a very big investment from the Zerg player. Like, ideally, in little scenarios like this, you want to pick off like 2-3 links, and then you let the Shade finish up anyway, so your adepts can go to the other side of the map. And this is where, if you're DisK, you hope that, maybe the Oracle finds a couple of drones, or your adepts find a couple of drones. This could be a decent moment, but so often the queens are in the right position.
Yeah, but the Zerglings, there's not enough of them to deal with these adepts, and Scarlett is going to be able to get in here, does get a couple of drones at the natural, or pardon me, DisK gets a couple of drones at the natural. Will be able to scout the Evo chamber as well, which is good information to have, knowing that it's a very, very quick, once again, probably +1 melee. That's it's good information. Now, it's not going to change up his game plan, but it's still nice to know that.
Yep, and we already found more drone damage in this game than we did in the previous one, 7 minutes in with triple Oracle. So it's the little things. I actually think if we would have ran those adepts a bit deeper past the spawning pool when we let that adept shade finish up, then the queens would have a slightly harder time getting enough hits off, and maybe DisK was able to grab like 2 extra drones there. And that honestly would be a very big deal 5 minutes into the game. Unfortunately for DisK, that wasn't meant to be. So Scarlett still is looking all right, but you know, look at the oracles. They're getting in range of that middle line, grabbing 2 drones as well. Maybe 1 probe is going to fall at home, as Scarlett will always find some value out of her Zerglings. But it once more looks like a pretty decent setup for DisK so far, as long as we don't lose too many probes unnecessarily. And that's a good save with the Battery.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice save right there. Very fortunate to keep that alive. DisK does eventually go up into a 3rd Oracle. Looks like he prioritized his Forge, his Twilight Council, and a big swell of gateways before adding on that 3rd Oracle. I like getting... Wait, no, actually... Yeah. Okay, yeah, it just popped out. I like getting the 3rd Oracle if you're going to play this like high-octane style that I think DisK is gearing up for once again. Because if you keep them alive, you have so much potential for it to help you win fights. Not obviously against, you know, Hydraling Bane, but against Roach Ravagerling Bane. It can be very, very effective. Oh, and he gets another couple of drones. Oh, I thought for sure that Queen fired another shot at the Oracle with one. No, oh my God, please pull it back. Okay, he's good. He's good. Yeah, no, I like the addition of the 3rd Oracle though. Like having the high energy is so valuable in these engagements that happen in multiple locations when there's, you know, anything where the Zerg is being aggressive. It's so much DPS against the Zerg ground army.
Yep, even against mailing run-bys that Scarlett has obviously found a lot of success with in this series. It would be so lovely to just drop a Revelation, knowing where Lings are morphing into Banelings, then activating Pulsar Beam. Maybe you can snipe 6 or 7 Banes before they even get in range of your gateways or the first cannon or battery. So keeping them alive is honestly by far and away the most important thing. Like grabbing a couple drones the way he did early on is very nice, but at this point we don't want to risk losing oracles to kill. Even 4 drones, it really wouldn't be worth it.
No, certainly not. You'd have to kill a lot of them for it to be worthwhile. DisK gonna dive very deep on that 1 queen. Won't be able to get it. Scarlett, nice positioning on these Lings. She must have seen it with her very good creep spread on the left side. Still, DisK gonna be able to get, he gets 3 drones right there, and a Zergling or 2. That's still pretty decent, but Scarlett, I mean, she's just holding down that D key once again, going up to another gigantic economy here. 89 drones. DisK is going up to that very, very high gateway style, going up to 12 gateways here. But it's going to be difficult for him to find a whole lot. I think he just needs to stay at the edge of creep at the very least.
In a way, I kind of feel like this meta shifting also favors Scarlett a little bit, because I think Scarlett has always loved games like this a bit more, where it's a lot about little trades, little fights, run-bys, setting up cool engagements, which is, I think just caters a lot more towards her strength than having to play these very passive games against Void Rays flying around, shield batteries, cannons, and then eventually carriers. Like Scarlett has always been good in the late game too, but I feel like this is actually where he shines a whole lot more, because he is so fast and is obviously always active with units out on the map.
Yeah, and I would say it favors in general Zerg players more across the board, because it has now turned a lot more into ZVT, as we do see the Stalkers being forced back once again. Scarlett respreading her creep, which is of course very, very important. Yeah. Zerg players have been able to practice this against Terrans. It's always been a lot of skirmishes constantly happening. Nice job from DisK. Very quick blink forward. He is moving in with some Zealots on the left side. So this is where things start to get scary for the Zerg, is when you're being hit in multiple places at once. Oh, but the Banelings do pop out. Will deal with this. Actually, Scarlett sending a couple of units too far forward. Nice snipes on the Ravagers right there.
Oh, High Templars, no. Okay. I mean, I actually think Scarlett should just attack these Archons. The Battery cannot really heal these Archons if they're still morphing, and with this many units surrounding them, I actually think, okay, Battery overcharge, Super Archon. That's pretty sick. I do think Scarlett could have just gone for it a bit quicker, but it's still 15 drones or 15 probes going down to mostly a couple of Banelings at the top side. At least DisK will live to fight another day, as now 2 Zealots and an Archon will run into the Queens. The Queens are very far off creep though, StatFast, and it seems like Scarlett is actually going to lose the majority of these Queens, and that will allow for these Oracles to really have a big impact again on these battles.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. The Oracles now become a lot more powerful. Now, DisK does need to be very careful. He cannot stay on creep for too long. He is once again hitting at the 4th base of Scarlett, and this time he is going to get in and find a little something. Nice Ravager Morph right there to block those Zealots. DisK will be forced to get back off creep. Oh, and he is going to pay a pretty heavy toll, but finding some really good damage. Looks like Scarlett did find another 11 probes, but I think that actually went very well for DisK right here, and he is going to get the 3rd base. DisK turning it on in game number 3.
Yeah, Scarlett had a couple of Banelings. Honestly, not too many running into the 3rd base, but the Banelings with +2, you know, they just kind of need to touch the probes. And Scarlett was still paying attention, just using 1 Baneling for every clump of probes. So that went incredibly well for her. But DisK definitely finding a lot of success, especially killing that hatchery is a big deal. Now, we still have those Oracles alive. We spoke a lot about it in that first game, how important it can be. And this may very well be the best spot that DisK has found himself in. 11 minutes into the game, there's a couple of Banelings this time around will get picked off by these Archons and the Zealots. And Scarlett doesn't have that crazy economy that she normally has, where you can just do this, where you throw wave after wave of Banelings away. Scarlett's going to need a good fight, and it's going to get harder and harder, especially with Storm finishing up.
I was just going to say, I would really, really like to see DisK going into Storm. Oh, barely getting a... Oh, God, move! Oh, he does lose that 1 Oracle. Only loses the 1, though. Could have been a fair bit worse. Banelings are going to get in. Those are +2 melee. Nice split at the last second.
The 3rd base. Okay, this time around, at least the probes won't be stuck, so we can save a decent amount of them. DisK is sending a few more Zealots to the other side. Man, this game is getting crazy. I love it. You said it earlier that PvZ is becoming a little bit like TvZ. And then some Zergs have actually complained. They're like, man, and now TvZ is like how PvZ used to be, because they just sit there behind their ghosts and tanks. I'm like, all right, you guys are never happy. But it's really fun to see just this many trades. Scarlett has been floating quite a few resources for a while, but that's mostly because he has been losing hatcheries, so she just wasn't able to spend her money.
Yeah, it certainly makes it difficult to do so. The transition into Storm for DisK is now complete. How many High Templar does he have with energy? Looks like he's got 4 High Templar. The one thing I will say is that Scarlett has still had her creep kind of undisturbed since the early start of the mid game. Oh, and now we're going to see the Lynx and Banes able to deal with all these Zealots. And yeah, that's the problem, is that with the creep getting really, well, being undisturbed, DisK is not able to get these Zealot run-bys in undetected. They have to go a long way before they actually reach their objective. But these Storms need to be pretty big.
Well, the first one is actually not too bad. Softens up a lot of those Banelings. Scarlett could send a couple of Lynx forward, surrounds that High Templar. That's obviously a bit pricey, but DisK still has plenty of Storms to work with. And especially if you stand near a shield battery, you're honestly going to be like, all right, you want to attack? Let's go ahead and do it. Scarlett is aware of that, though, so that's why she's going to drop the Infestation Pit, and maybe she's going to try to tack up as DisK has sent a few more Zealots towards the bottom. Will not get the hatchery this time around, but that hatch is once more already at like 30% of its health. So maybe the next run-by can get the job done. Love the pacing of this man. He's very active and he's looking for damage left and right.
Yeah. Oh, we are going to see some Banelings getting blocked once again. DisK, nice defense right there. I was just going to say, I'd love to see a Warp Prism for some Warpins in the main. There's no robotics facility, though. DisK is playing Gateway Man through and through, and the Banelings are going to try and come on in, but once again, Scarlett. Oh no, DisK! No!
Oh. And now all the Lynx and Ravagers are going to show up as well. A couple of Corrosive Balls can actually make it very difficult for DisK to get down to this ramp. You know, one thing is that the doors are open in the natural. I just looked at it and the doors are open, and Scarlett is going to capitalize on that opportunity. And who needs Banelings if you have this amount of Zerglings? And this could actually be the one that is truly going to hurt DisK. Oh man, I was just looking at it after I saw Baneling run-by after Baneling run-by into the 3rd. I looked at a couple of Zealots and they were just chilling in the natural. They were not in the choke point. And that's now going to put DisK in a very awkward spot where he basically needs to win. But having to win on creep, running into all these Ravagers is so difficult.
Oh, it certainly is. Nice job right there on the Storms and the Baneling Morph. Oh, a couple of High Templar going down with a lot of energy. Scarlett going to try and take down this army here and now. DisK so far onto creep. All the Archons going down. Scarlett looking to punch her ticket into the Winners Grand Finals. DisK, he's trying desperately to make it happen, but Scarlett is just gutting all of his economy. Now that Zealot Warpin actually does make things a little bit interesting here. DisK does have a pretty scary army, but Scarlett should be able to get out enough units to deal with this. Corrosive Vials going to get dodged. The Baneling Morph should be enough right here.
I think that Scarlett has more than enough. There are 11 roaches on the way. All of those roaches could morph into Ravages. That's how much money Scarlett has. DisK really put up one hell of a fight, especially in Game 3, and he looked damn good doing it. But it is just not quite enough yet. You can really see how close he is getting. Just not quite close enough yet to defeat Scarlett here in the playoffs of the DreamHack